I've already made a simple landscape for this tutorial. If you're not familiar with doing this, please see my previous tutorial, Quick Start Guide for Landscape and Foliage. Link is in the description. I also already have some foliage that I downloaded from Quixel. If you don't know how to do this, please see my tutorial, Getting Started in UE5. Link is in the description. The first thing you need to do is activate the Procedural Foliage tool. Under the Edit menu, select the Editor Preferences. Under the Experimental area, activate Procedural Foliage. Right-click in the Content browser, and under the Foliage menu, choose Procedural Foliage Spawner. Go ahead and rename the spawner. Right-click in the Content browser, and under the Foliage menu, choose Static Mesh Foliage. Then rename the foliage. Double-click to open the foliage. Drag your mesh into the mesh slot. Make sure that Align to Normal is active under the Placement section. This means that the foliage will align to the normals of the landscape. Also make sure Random Yaw is active so the foliage will have random rotation. Then save the mesh. Double-click to open the spawner. Click on the plus to add a foliage type. Drag the newly made foliage mesh onto the mesh slot. And save the spawner. Then drag the spawner into the level. The foliage will now be spawned within the spawner area. If you want to change the region for the spawner, you can change the scale in the Details panel. In the Detail panel, search for Procedural Foliage. Click on Resimulate. Now I can see my foliage being simulated within the spawner area. I go back to the foliage window so I can make changes to the foliage. Under the Procedural section, I'll change the collision radius and shade radius to move the foliage closer together. This deals with overlapping meshes. I then click on the Resimulate in the Details panel. Under the Clustering section, I'll change the number of steps in order to determine the density, age, and proximity of the foliage. I'll change the average seed distance. This will determine how far the seeds will spread. I then click on the Resimulate in the Details panel. The seeds per step determine how many seeds will be sent out from each piece of the foliage. I then click on the Resimulate in the Details panel. Under Growth, I can determine if the foliage can grow in the shade by toggling it on or off. The Spawns in Shade option means the foliage will only grow in the shade. The Age option's reference size means that the younger the seed, the smaller the foliage. I'll duplicate my initial foliage and rename it. I can double-click it to open it and replace the mesh. Back on the spawner, I click on the plus button and add the second foliage type. I can now make changes to the details of the second foliage. I then click on the Resimulate in the Details panel. I encourage you to add more foliage types to your environment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video about getting started using procedural foliage in UE5, then you're probably interested in environment art or game development. So if you're interested in those topics, you may also enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day.